And we are live, I believe. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, people in the chat. MotherCreepyPasta is joining me for this Serial Killer Saturday live edition.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to open up the video and mute it really quick. There we go.
So, for everyone that's just joining us right now, I wanted to do a Serial Killer Saturday, but the topic tonight is about serial killers released back into society. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you.
There's a little bit of a delay in the chat, so I want to make sure that they can hear too.
Okie dokie.
I think it's about 30 seconds. That is a yes. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, so I don't know how many people have followed the series. I have a Serial Killer Saturday series, but Mother Creepypasta also has her own criminal series after the trial. So I felt like she was a good one to have in here to bounce ideas off of. But I also wanted to hear from people who live in the public like we do, living amongst people that were serial killers released back into society. Hugs from Canada. I think we're going to need hugs. This is a heavy discussion.
Yeah.
I think the first one that shocked me, let me go back and share the screen. I'm going to try and share the screen with everyone. So I hope everyone's going to be able to see Pedro Lopez. Can everybody see that?
Okay, I can see it now.
You can see it?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of pictures, and I did a very detailed video on it. He was supposedly admitted to killing 300 young girls.
I'm so sorry I'm late.
Oh, hi. Sunbuns is joining us also.
Hello,
Hi,
Hi,
Sunbuns.
Duchess.
Hi, that's Mother Creepypasta and Sunbuns. Sunbuns.
So nice to meet you, both of you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. There's some people in the chat, and I was just starting to talk about Pedro Lopez, about serial killers re-released into society.
Oh, great. Yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah. And he's not the only one. He was not from this country. The whole case wasn't in this country. And they don't even know where he's at. But the reason this is such a problem is we were just talking about William Huff. And let me see if I can pull him up. I'll go to Murderpedia. I'm screen sharing, so can anybody tell me if the people in the chat can see what I'm sharing?
I'm just I'm typing in your name.
Google.
I'm gonna try to get to your live feed so that I can see the chat. So sorry about being late. I got 2 dogs and I had to make sure they were situated.
Oh, actually, I don't think William Huff will be in here because when he actually committed his serial murders, he was a minor.
He was like 16, wasn't he?
He was a little bit younger than that.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He was 16 when he went to jail.
Oh, that's right.
So he's not really actually on Murderpedia. But basically, I have a video on that too, and I don't want to, if people are here, I'm pretty sure they follow this series, and they're not the only ones. But the problem is that I was just talking to someone earlier about this. The reason why they let William Huff out, one of their reasons was because it happened a long time ago.
As if that matters.
Yeah, because you're not you don't have innocent, defenseless little humans in front of you when you're incarcerated. And there's no way of testing that theory out without some sort of horrible event occurring. So to just release someone because it happened a long time ago isn't justifiable, but he's not the only one. It happens all the time. And here's a list. Pedro Lopez isn't even on here. William Huff is. But there's several of them, including this one right here. Carla Homolka.
Carla Homolka.
She I think this happened, Canadian serial killer. And her husband raped, murdered, and I believe tortured 3 minors, including her own sister.
Jeez.
She's been released and volunteers at her child's school.
Oh no.
Right.
God.
She changed her name, so there's no way they could even do a background check on her accurately.
Kind of like Mary Bell. Do you know about Mary Bell?
A little bit, yeah, but she was a little kid, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm. She's like 10, and she killed 2 little boys, and then she got anonymity. I think they named a bill after her, like the Mary Bell Act or something like that. And so when she was released from prison, I forgot how many years, not that long, maybe 15 years, and she had a daughter of her own, and then they changed her name and protected her identity. It's possible she got rehabilitated, though, because she was so young when it happened. But
I don't know. Like when you're 10, what inside of you makes that a driving force?
Yeah, it depends on, I know sometimes in their background, if they were like abused when they were younger, that tends to be a factor with killers when they kill when they're really young. Mary Bell was abused by her mother, and like her mother was a prostitute, and her own mother like made her do things for her clients. She was only 10. Ugh, it was terrible.
Yeah,
but
yeah, a lot
tried to kill her a few times too.
Oh my gosh.
With like pills or something.
Yeah,
Now she has grandkids.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just said that Mary Bell also has grandkids, not just kids.
Oh, she's that
But
old?
she's not that old. I'd say she was born in the mid-60s or something. I can't remember. Or maybe it was the 50s.
I was thinking it wasn't that long ago when that happened. I think it was the pictures I was
Excuse me, it was in
looking
the
at
60s.
were in color, and it seemed like maybe it was in the 80s in my head when I was looking at it. I was just grazing through. It was a whole article on child killers because I wanted to do a series on that, but it was so disturbing, and it's sad because there's no entertainment in someone who's had no chance. For me, there's no entertainment in that at all. Not that there's a lot of entertainment in innocent people, but I think it's informative, and I personally enjoy watching it from other people.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, I haven't been familiar with your channel, MotherCreepyPasta. I wish I had known you were joining. I would have looked you up. I'm sorry, but I love channels like your guys's. I'm not exactly a horror channel, but more like a comedy channel. But I'm very I love watching the creepy channels like you guys make. And the first video I saw of Duchess was the William Huff one, because I have a friend that lives in that area, and I read about him, and I was like, oh shit, and that's when I looked him up.
yeah,
And
weren't you telling me your friend got an alert?
yeah, like a neighborhood watch kind of thing. And I think he might have been relocated, because ever since he was spotted and they put him on the local news, they haven't seen him since. But he was supposed to be on house arrest, like an ankle bracelet and everything, but he was riding his bike in plain view in an area with children, like in a neighborhood where there's kids around, and that's not good. I know he's old, and who knows if he has his tendencies still, but you know, I just feel like if there's with his crime, you know, like how malicious and the way he toyed with the cops and everything, looked like he took pride in what he did. Like he was very methodical about it. And it didn't look like something just some kid did for kicks. It looked like something very twisted, like Ted Bundy twisted, you know?
Right, because
so the fact that they let him out, it's pretty messed up.
He had premeditated plans and an address and everything.
Yuck. Sometimes I'll read about this stuff or watch videos like yours and a couple others I saw, and it gave me nightmares. A lot of people.
I think I've had nightmares too. I don't know if it was specifically about this.
Just about killers getting released and lazy parole boards. And I read some threads about it, and people were like saying that like, if that guy's in my neighborhood, I wouldn't be opposed to anyone killing him. And others are like, holy shit, like, you guys are trying to be all vigilante. This man has rights too, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, they have rights too, but what about protecting the community? You know, let him out when he's supposed to be on house arrest.
Right. Your human rights are diminished when you steal another human's rights.
I couldn't agree more.
And
Right.
if you want your rights, you know, I don't agree that vigilante justice will solve everything, because it's violence breeding violence, and you know, it's a never-ending chain effect. But that does not mean that I agree that we should house and educate and feed someone who was murdering other people. There's a broken process here, but we all know that, and that's a whole separate discussion in itself.
Yeah. Did you watch that video I sent you about Norway's jail system?
No, when did you send me that?
Oh, last night. It was Thoughty 2's video, or the night before.
No, but I wish I would have now.
Norway.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
Well, the video was about if the American prison system works, and it was comparing our reoffender rate to Norway's reoffender rate. I guess ours is like, if someone gets released from jail within 5 years, 70% will reoffend, and in Norway it's 20%. And their prisons are more like a 4-star resort. Like, they don't really get punished. Their prison system isn't a punishment. It's a trying to reform them into society, I guess.
And it works?
So far, because 20% reoffending rate compared to our 70, but it could be a cultural difference that won't translate over here too.
Right. There's so many. That's a whole other discussion too that I would like to branch into, is the difference in the culture. Like, no one can get on the same page, and that's part of the problem. But we have people that like got pulled over for weed, and then we have people that stabbed 45 people in the same building, and there's just no way that if you did something so minor that you should be in there. First of all, second of all, what are you going to come out like after you've been in there trying to defend yourself against those people? Obviously, they're not in the same cell blocks, but I'm sure at some point they intermingle. It's impossible to keep them completely separated all the time. And it's just the mentality.
I think they let them out. I think they let them out early, or they let them out more often because our prisons are so crowded and overpopulated, and it costs a lot of money to execute prisoners. And it's like we have like
them.
Yeah, and it costs even more to house them, but that's my theory. I think that's why they let them out early, or just keep letting them out, because there's no room. And when we have bad economy, bad education, and you know, slums and whatnot, or wherever where these people grow up and they don't get proper guidance growing up, or education, or if they're born when their parents were drinking when they were pregnant with them, you know, like these kids grow up to be, you know, the iller citizens of society, and they grow up to be criminals, and then it just begots more crime. They get thrown in jail and then pulled out of jail before they're even rehabilitated, or before they even finish their sentences. I'm worried that the reason that's because our prisons are just so overpopulated.
Right, but I mean, they like, I think, I'm sorry if I'm talking too loud. I started getting excited about it, but not excited, but my adrenaline starts to get going, because it's a subject that I'm very passionate about, because I strongly feel that if children were protected from the beginning, even if there is a history of violence and mental illness and abuse in any way, that if things are caught and rehabilitated early on, this stuff could stop before it ever starts. And Pedro Lopez, I mean, he had no chance at all. And neither did anyone who came across him. But I mean, just reading about him as a small child was devastating. And I literally had to stop reading it.
It's that bad, huh?
Yeah, it's that bad. It was very bad.
I've had a few of those.
Yeah, it can get that way. So can't do those every Saturday, and it gets a bit monotonous anyway. So
would you summarize what you read about him for those who haven't actually who know about how he grew up? Was it mostly his parents abused him, I guess?
Well, his mother was a prostitute,
Hmm.
one of several children. I can look it up. I
Was he
think
the one that got kicked out of the house when he was 8? Or is that someone else?
when he was 8 for molesting his sister.
That's right.
Let me see here. This is very brief. But that's in Colombia. I mean, you already have at the time of this. And let me see. Well, I'm not a Murderpedia, so I'm not. That's much more detailed. This is just Wikipedia, and there's just a crumb.
Yeah,
of
they
his
don't.
life.
Some of them don't have very big articles.
But Murderpedia is a really great one for that.
Mhm.
But, basically, he was 8, and he was trying to survive in the streets of Colombia, which even the justice system was. Think of the worst justice system here, and that would be a million times worse there. And so this man offered him a home and food, and he took him home and did horrible things to him and then put him back on
Oh,
the street.
God.
And so then he learned how to survive on the street. And he was adopted by someone when he was 12 or 13, and he just couldn't. It was like trying to house train a wild cat. That's the best, shortest way I can sum that up. I think he had been far too damaged for far too long at that point. And he didn't really go over the edge though until I think he was 17 or 18. He got caught for stealing cars and he went to prison and got gang raped, and then he turned around and murdered those men. And then the prison sentences just escalated from there.
Wow. How long was he an active criminal? Like from age 8 to just all the way into adulthood?
Yep, until he was in this one village, and they had noticed a large number of young girls missing.
Oh,
And
man.
when he had tried to lure one girl, and the villagers caught him and buried him in the sand up to his head, and they were going to leave him there, and he somehow talked his way out of it. And then after he was gone, they realized something got word that they understood who he was after he was gone. But he ended up getting caught when he tried to lure another girl, and the villagers caught him there too. The mother actually chased him off. But there's a great bunch of quotes on what he said about what he was doing when he was talking to the only reporter he ever gave an interview to. And if you go on, you can just watch the video on it. It's very detailed.
He was probably really charismatic, wasn't he?
He was.
A lot of these killers are. It's like they have a charm, an almost sickly charm with words. That's why they make such good killers, because they can trick people into trusting them.
Well, they're predators.
Exactly. It's the predator.
Right.
They groom people,
You
groom
don't see
children.
a lion. Right, you don't see lions just constantly running at its prey.
Exactly.
It has to stalk it. It has to stalk it, and it learns how to be cunning and quiet.
And they do it in a team too.
Right.
Like,
which is
pretty much
ironic that there's not a lot of couple serial killers, but someone keeps requesting the Galagos or Gallegos. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly.
Galagos.
Someone keeps requesting that, so I'm gonna have to do that eventually at some point.
We were talking about, like, when they don't have a chance, they tend to be more, prone to being a criminal, but there are exceptions where a kid can grow up with a perfectly loving family, like Jasmine Richards. I think her name's Richards. You know about her, the teen killer from Medicine Hat, Canada?
I'm gonna look her up. What's her name?
I believe it's Jasmine Richards. Now, she was 12 and she had a boyfriend who's like 24 or something, like quite a bit older than her.
Ew.
And they were both, she became she was all into the goth thing. Of course, the media likes to blame goth culture for inspiring her to be a killer, but she just happened to be interested in goth stuff in junior high, and then met her boyfriend who's way too old for her. And they just started talking about, they just wanted to hang out all the time. And her parents, who loved her to death, her perfect family, she had parents and a little brother, and they all took good care of her.
From Camp Rock. Oh my gosh.
I thought she was
Sorry,
from
go
Medicine Hat. There's a little town called Medicine Hat.
Well,
I
she
wouldn't
was on the
forget.
Disney Channel's show Camp Rock, which
Was she
was
really?
not what it
Whoa.
says. It's not even that long ago.
Wow. Well, I'm hoping this is the same girl, but she's beautiful too. She's a beautiful little girl. But right when she got into this thing with her boyfriend and her parents forbade her to see him, like they said, enough, like he's too old for you. He's a creep. He lives in he lives in an old beat up trailer. And, technically he's a statutory rapist and he believed he was like a 400-year-old werewolf. He's a bad guy. Like, stay away from him. She more or less decided with him, I'm going to go kill my family so I can be with you forever. And she convinced her boyfriend to kill her parents, and he brutally killed them. And then they decided to kill her little brother so that he wouldn't have to grow up without parents. It was so sick. He was like, I don't know, he was like 8. And because it's Canada, guess how many years she got? 10. 10 years. I think he got life.
It's not the girl from Camp Rock.
I was going to say, I don't recall anything. Maybe it's Richardson. Maybe it's Jasmine
Richardson.
Okay.
Yes, it's Richardson.
Jasmine Richardson. Son, excuse me.
I was like, oh my God, we just watched her.
I'll be damned. But she's out now. She's 20 something, and people just say we hope that she got serious therapy when she got out. But because she's out, and I think they gave her a new name, but I'm sure wherever she lives, people will recognize her because she's a very distinct, very pretty face. But I just think it's such an injustice how she got away with it. Her parents did nothing to her, and they got brutally murdered. She gets 10 years, she gets out, and a new life and a new identity, and I don't know. Like, even her little brother. Oh, sorry. God. My dogs are starting to play. I'll have to mute my mic and shut my door until they quiet down. But anyway, you guys can talk amongst yourselves. But that's my point, is that some girls, some killers can be born in perfectly healthy, happy families and do that same shit, or even worse. It's messed up.
But the thing is we don't know what happened behind closed doors. That's what everyone says. But we don't know what happens behind anyone's closed doors, and that's the scariest part of all.
You're a robot again.
I am?
Wait. Say a sentence. Let's see if it fixed itself.
Sentence.
There's like a little spark of static.
Is there?
I don't know. A little bit. Let's see. I was going to bring up Jeffrey Dahmer was in a okie dokie household growing up, right?
Was he?
I think so. Him or Ted Bundy. I think it was Jeffrey Dahmer though that had a...
Well, it wasn't Ted Bundy. Well, Ted Bundy had a great stepdad who tried to take him fishing, and he just didn't take to him.
Oh, I remember. Ted Bundy didn't know that his sister was actually his mom, right?
Right. We were just talking about this earlier, but it's also believed that he was conceived through incestuous relations between his mother and his grandfather/father.
That's
Ted Bundy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God, that video you did on the Wests. I knew about them because, like, what was her name? Is it Rosemary West? And what's her husband's name?
Ooh,
Mike? Fred. It was like a 4-letter word. Fucking Mike. Wow. That was, like, I knew about her, but I didn't know, like, that was a very detailed reading of it, and I couldn't believe just how messed up that family is and how they blend in so well into the community as, like, people. It just freaks me out. It makes me look at neighbors thinking they might have somebody in their friggin' basement if they have a basement.
Right. So that
if there's a shed in their backyard, I'm worried that they're like another Philip Garrido. Like, right, I hope that's just a shed with tools in it, not children.
They were an upstanding part of the community. Everyone thought that they had a very happy home life. In the meantime, they had, I don't even know, 12 people buried in their garden, including 2 of their own daughters. And they were continually abusing in a very detailed and grotesque way that if someone wants to watch that, they can watch the video, but I'm not going to say it here. The most horrific ways. And one of the girls that almost got away ended up telling her friend, and then she was suddenly missing. And we never know what goes on behind someone's closed doors. They can appear happy. Some people become very good actors just outside their home. But we never know what goes on truly inside someone's home.
Makes me paranoid. Makes me not want to, like, I'll say hi to my neighbors, but that's about it. Nice weather, yeah.
But the thing is, if they had someone in their house, you know, would you get them out? Like,
Well, if
can
I
we
were
go
to
even deeper
have any
into this
suspicions,
conversation?
if I had suspicions, I would at least make an anonymous or non-emergency police call. But that's what's screwed up, is that our justice system, especially because I've read a lot about victims who were kept captive for a long, long time with their kidnapper. There's several stories that are very similar, and it's like every chance they had to be rescued, usually involving law enforcement examining the home or something, they always do a half-assed job, always. Or they don't do it at all. And that's why they get stuck there. And only out of like sheer luck they get free, because maybe the kidnapper forgot to lock a door. That's usually how they get away. Or they take them to a public place.
Is that Amanda Berry that was like locked up and then escaped? Like
that sounds right. There was 3 girls that were kidnapped not long ago somewhere in Ohio. There was Elizabeth Smart, and then there was 2 girls that were in Austria. One was held captive by her dad. Another one was held captive by some guy who took her when she was 10, and she didn't get free until she was 18. There's so many of them, and they all have so much in common. And what pisses me off is how the people always ask them, why didn't you, like when the killer, or excuse me, the kidnapper takes them into a place, a public place, but they've completely brainwashed them at this point, and conditioned them to think that if you try to get away, I'm not only going to kill you, I'm going to kill everybody who tries to stop me. You know what I mean? Like, they completely ingrain that fear into them, so they don't try to escape yet, because they know they can't. People are like, why didn't you try?
They still victim blame.
And yeah, the victim blaming thing, they do the same thing to all these victims. And I'm like, do you have any idea what these girls went through? Or not just girls, boys too. But it's like, can you imagine? Like, I can imagine being that scared and being like having your spirit and your will broken. People just don't realize how hard it was to escape, not just physically escape, but mentally. They're still prisoners after they escape. Stockholm Syndrome's different though, because that's like, people accuse, what's her name? Natasha, this is on Netflix, Natasha Kampusch. She's from Austria. And people said that she had Stockholm Syndrome, but no, if she had Stockholm Syndrome, she wouldn't have tried to escape. She knew it was wrong. She grew somewhat attached to her kidnapper, but she felt sorry for him, but she didn't. She knew that he loved her, even in a very twisted way, and he was very abusive. But he felt like that was the only way he could have a girlfriend, is by just taking one and keeping her prisoner for the rest of her life. But she did escape, and she gradually forgave him. She forgave him every day. And that's not necessarily Stockholm Syndrome, because if it is Stockholm Syndrome, she would never have escaped, and she would have stayed with him out of pity, and, you know. So it's like, people get that mixed up.
It's similar. Making the best out of a bad situation. Making the best out of a horrible situation.
That was her coping mechanism. Yeah, that was her way of surviving.
I think that's how they cling on to a grasp of sanity and hope.
Exactly.
Try and find a way to make it not so damn awful. And you don't know it until you're in that scenario. And there's so many different situations where someone is basically brainwashed into feeling trapped when they have. And the worst part is not did they just take them in public and had an opportunity to get away. The worst part is many of these people had people in their homes when there was someone in the basement, and the people were like, and I think you know what you're talking about, the Austria one.
There's 2 of them. They're almost identical, but yeah, the one that I was talking about, yeah.
Is it a cinder block room?
He made a cell underneath his house.
Yep, I just watched that about 2 months ago, and no one suspected him, no one at all.
Didn't have a criminal record, nothing.
Yeah.
The guy and the dad, there was an Austria guy who who kept his daughter down there, impregnated her repeatedly. Oh, that was even worse. And I think she was there for even longer. But people get those stories mixed up because they're so. Natasha was the one I saw the documentary on Netflix, and it was really good, but it was so sad. I read more about it, that she still keeps a picture of him because she feels that's how much she feels sorry for him. Like he was just a really sad, messed up guy who didn't know how else to have someone in his life. Sometimes he'd be very kind to her, but he abused her so badly. She wouldn't even reveal about other things that he did to her because she just didn't feel like it was anybody's business. And she didn't like when people took pictures of the cell because she felt like it was them encroaching in her home. That was her home for more than half her life.
It was invasion
you can imagine.
of privacy is what she
Exactly.
felt like. And I think that when they did it, she was reliving it also all over again. And it didn't allow her to move on. So she doesn't like to hear about it. She doesn't like to. But the father that impregnated his daughter, that one was just awful. And the mother knew about it. And then they had a couple. They had a couple that they vacationed with regularly. And the husband and wife were talking about when they saw him get arrested on TV. And they felt so awful that they didn't have a clue that the whole time they were showing home videos on vacations with the father that repeatedly raped and impregnated and imprisoned his daughter. And he was watching the video with the people that were interviewing him, the friend of the family, and he was so upset with himself. He's like, look at him laughing and smiling and having fun like he doesn't have his own daughter in his basement, because that's how messed up someone is in the head to do that they just don't think there's anything wrong with it. But as far as Natasha, is that what we were talking about before?
Yeah, the one I watched there was a documentary on Netflix. I think it's still there.
Part of the coping mechanism, and this goes for anybody who's been, without going into too much detail about anything, if you've been a victim of a crime against yourself.
Brainwashed, yeah.
Well, there's several reasons why you would need to do what I'm going to say here. Part of the coping mechanism to empower yourself to move past the feeling of being a victim is, and I know this sounds so messed up, but if something happens to you and you're in this situation, I guess you would have to judge for yourself. But personally, when something has happened to you and you feel powerless, one of the ways of coping is to try and just take control of the situation yourself. Like how Natasha protects him. That is her empowering herself so that she does not have to feel like the victim.
That's exactly what you said. She didn't want to be labeled as a victim. She was just like incidentally was his victim, but she's a human being. She kind of made it out to be he suffered more than she did. She was stronger than he was because she had a will to live. Yeah. And she was just a child. She had the will to live. She wanted to die at times, but she knew that this was just so wrong. She had to keep fighting. Then to his own depraved, messed up version of what he thought was like a romantic love relationship. But in his case, he kidnapped a child because he could make, as she grew up, he could mold her into the perfect woman and his slave and his own preferences. Everything would be exactly the way he wanted it if he can condition her at an early age. I think he waited until she was in her teens before he started to abuse her sexually. But then, yeah, she grew up realizing that he was kind of a victim too, in a way, just a victim of his own sickness. But that's no excuse for it, of course. But it sounds like he wasn't really abused. Maybe he had a very overbearing mother, but I read something about her talking to his own mother. I don't know if you guys know, but when she did escape, finally, he committed suicide right before law enforcement could find him. He just killed himself in front of a train tracks, so he didn't get punished for any of it. Bought his house. It's a very fascinating story. I'd like to read the book she wrote.
Who bought the house?
Natasha bought the house that she was held captive in, but the cell that was underneath the house that he built, I cannot believe how much how hard he worked on this cell, how hidden it was. It was like buried halfway down the center of the earth kind of thing. But
Yeah.
she filled it up with cement, so it's not there anymore. But she has all of his belongings, furniture, everything. She kept that was her home, and she decided to make it her home. And she keeps a picture of him in her wallet. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of screwed up. But I guess she felt like she had to, I guess.
She doesn't live there, does she?
She does. Or maybe she lives there on holidays or something. I don't know. I don't know if she actually lives there, but I know she owns the house. Maybe she doesn't live there anymore. But she was rescued in 2012, maybe? And getting
pretty
help,
long-
yeah.
Yeah, she's continued to get help, but I think that not only, I mean, even as an adult, if you're taken, I mean, I'm the type of person where if you're going to try and hurt me, we're both going to die because I'm not going to live as someone's prisoner. But she was, what was she, 10?
She was 10 when she was 18.
Taken on their way to school. And I think that because it was such a formative time that I don't know if she'll ever fully be out of that mindset of pity or some sort of attachment to him, no matter how much help she ever gets.
I agree. And I think it's just because she has such a big heart. She can't hate. When you hate someone, it eats you up inside. You have to like forgive in order to live. You know, even like Elizabeth Smart, she ended up forgiving everything they did to her, never forgetting, holding them accountable. But when you have a grudge, when you have like you want revenge or whatever, it makes you no better than the person that abused you. So that's why they turn around and say, I forgive. I mean, it's usually for the sake of so they can be free after they've been, set free. They can have the freedom to be happy if they let go of the pain.
They're not saying, when you forgive someone, you're not saying it was okay.
That's all right. I forgive you. No big deal. That's not it at all.
People mistake it for that. People mistake forgiveness for permission. And that's not what it is. It's because a survivor of anything, rape or anything like that, has to, or they don't get to live their life anymore. They're always going to be stuck in that moment, and they'll never get to move on, and that's not fair. They need to be allowed to forgive, and that hate will just consume you, truly.
Wow, you seen some people here that were victims of sex abuse, and I feel people are so brave to share anything like that. I'm really sorry that you guys went through that, and I want you to know that you're not alone. In fact, it's sad, but statistically, a huge majority of people, pretty much almost everyone I know has been a victim of some form of abuse. But it's also because I tend to befriend people that are very much like me. They came from a kind of a messed up family, I guess.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry, Duchess. Your mic's been kind of going a little bit on and off. So
sorry.
Maybe you can unplug your mic, plug it back in. I don't know. I didn't want it to ruin your beautiful speeches. I didn't want it to make it too choppy.
Is it choppy right now?
A little, but only after it's kind of coming and going. And I've got to let you guys know that sometimes, because my computer's old as shit, sometimes my computer will disconnect off the internet because there's something wrong with the USB thing, which is what my Wi-Fi is connected to. So I'm so sorry if I get booted off. I can come back as quick as I can, just letting you know. But you guys aren't alone, and there are resources for people that have been abused, not just women, men too, because they get abused as well. Never forget that. Some people might overlook the fact that a lot of boys and men grew up and they were abused just like women, and sometimes they don't get as much attention, you know what I mean? In the media anyway.
It's very true. They don't. And I think they're victim shamed more than women because they're, I'm really
statistically women get abused, I guess, more, but I think it's just men get abused just as much, if not more. They just don't get as reported, or it just doesn't become, I don't know, maybe the media eats it up more if it's a woman, but if it's a boy.
Yeah, it is. And it shouldn't be. A victim of a crime is a victim of a crime, and they need to be protected. Exactly.
And there's a lot of women abusers too. Like I've read,
yes, there are.
I've seen some
Oh my God, there are.
people forget that there's women pedophiles, women rapists, and we're talking about women that do it to children. It's not like
There's
teach
students.
kids not to trust strangers. Oh my God, especially like teachers and shit. It's ugh. It makes me physically ill when I see this shit on the news about like a teacher who engages with her students, and it's like, what the fuck? How are these people getting these jobs? Why don't they do some kind of background check or some kind of psychosexual test before they start teaching our children? It's freaky, and it keeps happening. You notice that?
Yeah, I think that. Can you hear me? Okay.
Damn, it's still. Is it me? Am I the only one hearing the crackly sound when Duchess talks?
I can hear it too sometimes. It's like a twang at the beginning of your words and then at the end of the sentence. Like in the middle sometimes sounds okay.
Okay. What about now?
It's still. What kind of mic are you using, Duchess?
The same one I use every time. I think it's because we have to take turns talking. And I don't know.
Is it like mine, like a Blue Yeti?
No. Oh, no.
God, no. That's what I'm using.
That's what I use.
Oh, are you shaming our mics?
No, I just know that they pick up background noise, and I don't know why mine's crackling.
Yeah, mine does pick up. It's very echoey in my room. I've got a friggin' blanket behind my mic to help soften the sound. But yeah, you could probably hear my computer and all that other shit. So, but yours sounds really good.
Well, is it still crackling?
That bad,
Yeah.
but it's still there.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Duchess. If I could magic wave a wand and clear it up for you, I would. I'm not sure what you can do other than maybe checking the settings on your, like if you double click on the mic icon, bottom right, if you're using Windows, I'm not sure if you're using it, but you double click on the mic icon or right click it and go to recording devices. Maybe there's a way to adjust the volume or something. Anybody got any ideas in chat? Feel free.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, this happened before we started the stream, and she did something, and it worked for a while.
I'm sorry, Duchess. So, how did you discover Duchess recently, or?
I think I discovered her back in January, maybe February.
That's around the time that I did too.
That's when I started getting on Twitter and being part of the horror community more, talking to people.
Nice.
And seeing
I like your artwork. Did you make that?
No, it's from Yeah Man TV. My husband commissioned him for our anniversary. And
oh, cool.
That's really
nice.
It's
a goose carcass.
That looks like the moon from Majora's Mask.
It's from the nursery rhymes. I don't know, because it's a play on Mother Goose Tales, MotherCreepyPasta.
Oh yeah, it's a skeleton Mother Goose. That's wicked.
Yeah.
I like that.
Can you guys hear me?
He gave me a few pictures. Yes, but you're still a little crackly.
No.
I'm sorry, Duchess.
No, I don't understand that.
Damn. Maybe
it's nothing. It's my internet is what it is, because my stuff is hooked up the same it is when I record. It's annoying.
It could be internet, but it's not that bad. I'm getting used to it. I think but it's just I just didn't want, if it does get more crackly, people might not be able to understand what you're saying, and I didn't want you to be talking and have it be worse. But right now it's not that bad. It just kind of makes it, in between words.
We can understand you fine. It's just you sound like a robot.
These things happen. Your next, I'm sure there's going to be a way to get it to be more clear. Is this the first time you've gone live on your channel?
It happens every time I stream.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So annoying.
Maybe you could record with your phone. I don't know.
I'm not.
No. I'm not an expert, but
I think that it's no. No.
Are you on Wi-Fi or an Ethernet cord?
It's the internet. I know it's the internet, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just gonna have to put up with it.
It's not that bad. Anyway, I'll let you. This is your stream, so I'll let you direct what you'd like to talk about next.
Well, we were just talking about serial killers being released, and then we branched all the way into rape. which will be another stream topic. 2 weeks from this Saturday. Can you hear me okay? Is my sentence clear?
Yeah, we can understand your sentence. It's just staticky.
It's just a little choppy, but I understand you just fine. Sorry, Duchess. I know it's frustrating. And I'm sorry we were redirecting, but you said you wanted to stay on topic. That's kind of difficult for me. So if we strayed off topic, that was my fault. I apologize, but I admit that you get passionate about something and you want to open up about it a little bit, and I did the same, but I didn't know if there were rules for the podcast or whatnot. If I broke a rule, sorry.
Shame.
Too.
No, there's not. I just no, there's not any rule that were broken at all. Don't think that at all.
I'm a rogue.
I'm easily distracted as well. But I didn't want it to turn into
free for all.
Right. Like victims is still the reason why we're talking about this, and it's to protect our innocent loved ones that are out there when we can't be there with them. And you should be able to trust that your public safety is taking care of things. But part of the problem with that, not only are our prisons awesome. Our prisons are full. Our prisons are full, but then all of our public safety funding gets cut to the bone. So there's you have hardly anyone patrolling streets, and prisons that are full. So when they do have men that can patrol and do find someone that's doing something awful, where are they supposed to put them?
We have correctional systems, we have halfway houses, we have programs to help rehabilitate registered sex offenders, but I think if it's ill-funded and if the staff the government hires is not reputable, which happens it varies from state to state, and protection laws vary from state to state, at least in the US. Those all have factors as to how the victims, and prevent more victims from becoming victimizers, it just depends on, I think it's more than anything, it just depends on how we have systems to prevent people from preying on children and preying on people. It's just, I don't know, I don't believe in the concept of evil, even though I very loosely use that word. If anything, there's sociopaths, psychopaths, but it's I don't know if there's an evil gene or a genetic factor, some kind of brain damage, and there's people that are born with just the tendency to do evil things, like torture animals and shit, before they're even mature.
Right.
But we have programs to help. There's I forget what it's called. You ever seen the documentary Child of Rage? That's a really disturbing. It's on Child of Rage. There's a TV movie based on it, and there's a documentary from HBO. It's extremely disturbing. Proceed with caution. But I watched it. It was really good. It's about a little girl who was brutally sexually abused by her father since she was an infant. And she grew up torturing animals and torturing her little brother and sexually abusing her little brother. And she had no empathy whatsoever. She was evil. That was the term they used. But then they had this program, a very rare program, where they took her to a house and trained her to empathy is, and being very strict at first until they get them to understand, why do you feel this way? Why do you? And it's usually because the reason these victims, these children, end up hurting something else, it's because, for example, Mary Bell was hurting and sexually abusing or mutilating the little boys because at one point she was the victim. She was the weak one that was getting hurt, and she was almost trying to emulate that pain onto something smaller, something weaker, so that she's not the victim anymore. That's basically what this girl was trying to do, not realizing it. And then she realized she was just hurting so much inside, inflict pain on something else, something weaker that couldn't fight back. And once they teach her what empathy is, then she realizes it hurts more when I hurt someone else, because now I know what it feels like to be hurt. And then she grew up realizing that she didn't really want to hurt anyone. She was just hurting so much inside. And it's a blessing when they can actually teach that to a child and basically rewire their brain to be human again. So there is hope. It's pretty cool. She grew up to be a nurse, and she's a very, very empathetic, kind, loving person. But she just had a very messed up past, but she didn't let it defeat her. She let it make her stronger. And there are people out there that have similar pasts. And I read about these things because it brings me hope, because I was hurt a lot by different things. And it makes me feel like no matter how bad of a background you had, you can always change for the better. And at least I know that no matter how badly I was hurt, I never want to inflict pain on other people, ever. It just, like, even if I say something and I get, like, if someone makes a look like I might have hurt their feelings, I die inside. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Are you okay? You know, that's a good thing. So anyway, that's my point, is that I think there is hope, and there are programs that can be of use to people that might grow up to be killers or something, but it all depends on the person and where they're from, cultural differences, that too.
Yeah,
but we got to keep trying.
It also depends on who they come in contact with after it's discovered of their actions. Like, if she would have gotten in the wrong hands, there's no way she would have gotten rehabilitated.
Oh yeah, it could have been so much worse. She could have grown up to be a female Ted Bundy, for all we know, you know. But she grew up to be a nurse, and she also assists other people with children. That it's insane. They had this program they had was actually, it was almost like a halfway house for kids, but these kids were killers. They actually did kill neighbors and animals and stuff. But because they're so young, like toddlers, they couldn't be thrown in jail, obviously. So this was all they had. And there were other things where they would, like, hold them down, like restrain them, and tell them to fight. And then it was almost like a guided imagery thing, where if they were fighting and saying, let go of me, and they're saying, who are you mad at? Who's holding you? Like, that's because it helped her remember what her dad did to her. And then all that hate and anger, then she knew who it was directed to. Not her pets, not her brother, not her parents. It was directed to her father.
So it almost
because he hurt her so bad.
Like immersion therapy, forcing you to face what happened.
That's probably what it was, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what it is, because it's teaching you how to direct your anger. And you know what's funny is, it's not funny, but there are common things that happen to people every day where if they just directed their negativity and realized what are they frustrated about, what's bothering them, it would solve like so much stress that exists within them for the, like, over, you know, one scenario or one set of circumstances, but it's affecting everything else because they don't know, or they're not realizing what that is.
People hurt each other unintentionally, or they're hurting others. They don't actually mean to hurt. It's usually, I think, when people are hurtful or hateful or cruel, they tend to be spiteful towards others because they can't quite figure out why they're hurting much inside, and they just kind of project that anger on others. And I think that's what kind of feeds these little demons people have inside of them, so to speak. And I mean, like, usually it's self-loathing, anger, misery, loneliness, all that shit. And I think it's like that's what killers kind of spawn from, or not just killers, but predators, all that. They just, these little inner demons, I guess. I'm not talking about creatures. I'm talking about, like, shadows that we have inside of us. Yeah. It's very fascinating stuff. This is why I like reading stories about this, because I like to delve into the human psyche and figure out what makes it, why are we the way we are? And it's usually not anything biblical, in my opinion. It's not just, you know, black and white, good and evil. It's much more complicated than that.
Infernal Angel, you have a really good point. Venting is so important. It is a form of therapy, and people that don't utilize it, like, if you don't have anyone to vent to, vent out loud to yourself for the love of God, or write it down, because that one focus of energy can release so much. And I know it sounds probably stupid, but even if you just write it down, rip it out of the notebook and throw it away, because at least then it's out of your head for a second.
Or burn it. That's therapeutic too.
Yes.
Or make music or draw. There's lots of outlets that release that pain. Depends on what helps you. But writing it's good. Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah. Especially when you've been, which is harder to do if someone has abused you. That's probably the most challenging, and I don't personally know of anyone that has accomplished that, but yeah.
I'm loving this. How about you? This is fascinating stuff. I don't have these many insightful conversations about like the human mind and victims, killers, all that stuff. This is a first for me, but it's fascinating, and I really appreciate you letting me join you. I feel like I'm kind of the black sheep because I'm not a horror channel. I've actually was thinking about making one in the future, just to read stuff.
Hold off on that and see how YouTube deals with this whole
exactly. So, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not very happy with YouTube. I know. Maybe I could do VidMe or something instead, but it's fun. I love doing voice acting. I love your work. I mean, you inspire me big time because I've done voice work on my own channel, but it's like yours is. I would love to hear you do like audiobooks and stuff. I've listened to your voice as I sleep, but I've actually I'm an idiot though, because some of your stories actually gave me nightmares. I'm not kidding. I forget. One of them did. I had a very vivid dream about the one story you read. I cannot for the life of me remember, because they're all compilations. There was a story you were reading about a little girl talking about creatures in the woods, and there was like some kind of deer demon things, maybe cannibals.
Wendigo?
Damn it. Oh, you know what I'm talking about?
Let me go find that.
I heard it I was half, and I've also listened to Mr. Nightmare, and go figure, I have fucking nightmares when I was listening to it. You know what gave me, the one story he read that gave me nightmares, but it was, I agree. Duchess has like butter voice. It's like it's so smooth. But it was, man, I love that story about the weird guy walking down the street with that huge grin. You remember that? Ever heard the Smiling Man?
Oh yeah.
Mr. Nightmare. A lot of different channels did this reading. I guess it was a pretty popular story, just about a guy walking down the street in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden he sees a creepy dude walking down the street with this huge sardonic grin. I love that word, sardonic. When you think sardonic, think of the Joker, like, or Jeff the Killer, right? So he did this reading, and I was falling asleep while I was listening to it, and I vividly saw everything that he was describing in a dream, and then I woke up when the music went, the music swelled, and I woke up, oh shit, and I saw the Smiling Man in the back of my eyes, like, oh my God. And then I looked it up, and there was a few short films based on it where they filmed it, and with his permission I used his voice and used someone else's short film and put them together. It was perfect. And the film, but I changed the way the film looked to make it look way more gritty and old, and like increase the darkness so that you could barely see the guy. That made it scarier. But my editing skills were a little less impressive back then. But I synced them together to make Mr. Nightmare's reading sync up with the short film. And I depicted it exactly how it looked in my dream, to where it was very dark, but everything was kind of glowing red, because you know how those street lamps look at night, where they're more orange, but more reddish. And it really freaked me out, because it's something that could happen. Most of these stories, supernatural, spooky, ooh, but when you're going down the street and there's just some weirdo, some tweaker, some meth head, in my case, a lot of meth heads around here, ugh, and you'll see them like dancing and shit. This guy was dancing. I imagine this might be a true story, because there's just a guy doing some weird waltz dancey thing down the street, and then he just stops and he's staring straight up into the sky with this grin. Doesn't say a word. Gets closer and closer, and the guy's like, "What the fuck do you want?" And he turns around and goes away. Then turns around and comes running at him like, "Oh shit." Can you imagine having that happen to you at 2 o'clock in the morning? Fuck that. I'd mace him. Yikes. But anyway.
I've had some weird stuff happen to me too, though, because I was just telling you, I live between, I'm not going to get very specific, but I live in Michigan, and I live between Detroit and Flint. That's a very broad area. There's a
lot
of towns there. But when I was younger, I was in Flint with friends. It was late, like we were leaving a bar, and there was a friend of mine and her date and my date. This was before I was a married woman. We were sitting, getting ready to leave, but we were just talking in the car. And this was down Saginaw Street, which would be like, I don't know if anyone knows anything about Flint, but Buick City, that's where GM was born. And
Motown.
So it's a brick road. And well, Motown's Detroit, actually.
Oh, I thought. Oh, sorry.
No, but I mean they're like an hour apart, so.
Oh yeah, derp.
Not
Okay.
that different. But so we're sitting across the street from the bar that we were just in, and a man. It's late at night. You know who's homeless and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be judgmental, because I don't think that's a whole nother subject. But anyways, he stops in front of the car, turns and stares at us, and we're like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's by himself. It's super late at night. He turns and stares, opens his coat, and pulls out this enormous knife. He's just, like, smiling and turning it, and we're like, what is
The
this guy
fuck?
doing? But he was like 60. He was this frail 60-year-old looking white man with this enormous knife. So whoever was driving just started it, and we just slammed it reverse and got out of there. But it was so scary because he was just walking along, and he turns and just like, hello, want to play with my little shiny toy? Like, yikes. Where had he just come from?
Oh my
Just
god!
walking around Flint with that thing in his coat.
Don't never underestimate people. Old people. Even if it was a midget with a knife, I would have ran. Like, I know for oh, excuse me, that's not a PC word, is it? But you know, like, I would never, if anyone, big or small, old or young, pulls a knife out, I'm fucking gone. I'm not gonna wait around to find out. But that is, you're like laughing as you tell the story, but I'm like, my jaw dropped. I was like, Duchess, did you get away safely? Did he slash your tires?
Mm-mm.
There.
Ooh. What was that?
What?
Did no one else hear that?
I
I
heard
didn't
it.
hear anything. Oh, haunted house? What's going on? What did you hear?
Demon scream.
Yeah, it sounded like a demon screamed into the microphones.
Maybe my mic had feedback, but I'm pretty sure my computer's not possessed. It's dumb. It's not possessed.
That's what it
Did it
wants
come
you to
from
think.
mine? It must have been feedback. It's a little awkward now. Now I'm starting to think, are there spooks?
I'm
Ghosts
sorry.
in the machine?
The ghosts that follow me around, they're going to stay at my house. They won't visit you. We'll just say that. You come back here now.
I love when you did recording, when you would do a man's voice, sometimes you turn the pitch down. And you did a very good job, but sometimes when I was like half asleep, I didn't see a man. I would see like a drag queen. Because he'd be like, it's like, why don't you I don't know, like it sounded like a woman pretending to be a man. Like,
Yeah,
that.
I know.
But then again, I could do really deep, but no, not that good.
Yeah, I've decided to, like, from now on, I will ask a guy or my husband to do the guy voices like that, because it just
Mr.
doesn't-
Sabry.
If it's a scary story, it's not gonna come up. If it's a comedy, like I did a few of those
Oh, I loved those.
emails from an asshole. Those
Oh
were funny.
God, that was a good one.
I didn't want to do everyone on the guy's thing. I mean, they're his, so. But those were entertaining. Those were fun.
Voice thing. But I admit, I had a half awake, half asleep, and I saw, instead of a guy, saw a drag queen. Like a RuPaul kind of thing.
That one thing that you were talking about that you said, was it the Becky Taylor transcript that you were talking about? That you said scared you when the little girl was talking about?
Oh, yeah, where she's like being
Calling the detective?
interrogated by a cop?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good one. And now because it was weeks ago and I've been so stressed from my job, I've been having memory problems, so I don't exactly remember the plot. I just remember there was a huge reveal at the end. I don't want to spoil it, but then again, I can't because I can't remember. I need to be awake this time. I don't fall asleep because you bore me. I literally, like, only time I have when I get off work at 11 o'clock at night, I'm like, ooh, Duchess uploaded a new video. I want to listen to it. I'd like to listen to, ooh, this is spooky. Ah. Then I fall asleep because it's like 12 o'clock and I'm so pooped from work. And then I try to remind myself to listen to it again in the morning with my coffee. It's just been kind of a nutty couple of weeks, but yeah, I love it's your videos are very soothing. I like this one, dark stories you did, and you had like sound effects in the background. It sounded like a creek, like water. It was very relaxing, spooky but relaxing. You know which one I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
There was one about guys that were camping and they were doing some kind of research to get plant life or something, or and there was a cigarette. There was a guy with a cigarette stalking them. It was a true story.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Oh, those were.
There was like a really cool, creepy music and creepy, like sounded like trickling of water, like a creek in the background. I really liked that noise. It really added to the atmosphere.
I had done those for Swamp Dweller, those and a couple more, and I hadn't had anything, so I used that for that day. But that was Swamp was the one that found those stories. But yeah.
Did anybody else think that when they mentioned the split pea soup that they were going to poison all the campers?
I did. Actually.
You remember? I was thinking like
it didn't happen.
You were like, the 5 students who had eaten the soup were not in the best of health. I'm like, because they were poisoned, right? They're poisoned, or it's made of people. But that was just a little subplot, like, oh, they got sick, so they couldn't excavation or whatever. I'm like, damn, but that would have been very cliched.
How do you get sick from peas? I don't know.
I've never had split pea soup, and I probably never will, because if I do, I can't help but think of The Exorcist. We're way off topic. Look what I did. I hijacked your podcast. I'm so sorry.
Well, actually, that was a good phase into 2 weeks from now. I'm going to do a paranormal live stream. And one of my, we co-follow each other, Mason, on Instagram, did a piece of fan art, and said that they wanted to be part of when I do a paranormal.
Cool.
They have a background in demonology.
How do you get that?
Awesome.
I don't know, but we will find out in the live stream.
Right? Did he go to a class, seminars, perhaps? I wonder how people get. How do you become like a demon Ghostbuster?
I don't know if that's the
I think
same.
it's like the same lines of cryptozoologist. It's like it's not a recognized degree unless you're within the field of other people with it.
I wonder how you get the title parapsychologist. That's kind of what a ghost hunter is. And it's like, how the hell do you get a certificate for that?
You do study it for a long time.
I always picture someone who like holds up those weird copper bars and then they move. Ooh, the electromagnetic fields are moving. And they use those radios. What are those things called?
The
Spirit
thing.
boxes. Yeah. It's like they go, kill me. Oh, we've made a connection. I'm a skeptic, but I'm also open-minded. But I know that if I don't believe in ghosts or haunted houses per se, I believe there are vibes. There are vibes and auras, meaning like if something bad happened in a house, like if the Rosemary West's, if her house was still standing and I walked in there, I would probably feel ill. Like, I know something's not right about this house. No ghosts. It's just the fact that something horrible happened in a building. We tend to feel uncomfortable when we go inside, and that's enough for me to just turn the other way and book it out the door. Like, fuck this. I think there is vibes that locations can have without having to be haunted per se. Just if something messed up happened in a building, we tend to not be very, like, my dad worked at a old penitentiary, and it was really cool, but it was a museum, but it was also a prison or a jail, I guess, an old jailhouse museum, and walking around and seeing all the scratches on the walls and the writing of like, why can't I just die written on the wall? Like, I'm like 10 years old reading that stuff. What the hell was he thinking, letting me just go wherever I wanted? But I could get the vibe. I felt so claustrophobic in there, and it felt very uncomfortable. because I could tell that there were people in there suffering a lot, and you can feel it. You can feel it, the vibe of the suffering and the fear.
The oppression.
Oppression, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, did you guys ever feel something like that in a house or a building or?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that every hospital I go to. I hate going to hospitals or clinics. Even if they're nice clinics, I'm always like, ugh. I just have an aversion to them, I guess. Probably from bad experiences I've had, but still.
No, I think that it's something I've been talking to other people about. But anyway, when there's a lot of different energies, some people can feel that and some people can't. So I'm thinking that you're picking up on that.
I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel anything when I worked as when I was a caregiver in a certain house. People said, because there were people that died in those houses, but I felt nothing when I was there, and it never disturbed me, except a few times the stupid shower head, because it was so damn heavy, would fall and go bang on the tile in the bathroom in the back of the house. Shit. And that would freak me out, but then I'd put it back and I'd have to screw it in to make it tighter so it wouldn't fall. But other than that, I never got any bad vibes there or scared, but everybody else did. So maybe I was in tuned with other places, but not that place. Maybe it's like there's frequencies that are stronger and weaker depending on the person. Of vibes, I guess. I can't think of another word. Aura or vibes. Atmosphere.
That or maybe it was a good place where you were and there wasn't a lot of fear or sadness or oppression or suffering. And the bigger the place, I think the bigger range of things that have been going on in there.
Maybe.
But my curiosity comes in when there's been bad events at a place and someone goes in and doesn't know what's happened. That's where I want to know, what are you feeling here? Are you feeling anything? Or do you only pick up on it because you know that something has happened here? That's what I want to.
I've never had anything happen, so I can't really say.
Did you read the story about the abandoned hospital after Hurricane Katrina? Was that yours?
Mm-hmm. That was mine.
It got to me. That one, it was such a good reading. I mean, they're all good readings, but you know, when you listen to these stories, sometimes you'll get such a vivid image in your head to where it's like you're watching a movie in your head. That's why I love these channels, because it's all your imagination. And when someone's reading it so beautifully that it just kind of goes I love to listen to these when I'm doing chores and shit, and I'll get lost in the audio. But that one in particular really got me to where I saw everything, and it really freaked me out. I loved it. You do such a good job, and I'm gonna check out your channel too.
Oh, thank you.
MotherCreepyPasta.
Yeah, she does a good job too, and her husband too. He's like a good writer, and she reads his stuff. They're like a really good team together, by the way.
Yeah. He's also my script writer for After the Trial.
Yeah, it's great. Oops. I'm sorry. I hit my microphone. That one of the hospital, charity hospital. That's.
I looked it up too. I saw pictures afterwards. I wanted to see what it looked like. It looked exactly how I pictured it because of how you read it. It's really freaky shit.
The pictures in the story are of charity hospital.
Yeah, I looked it up after the video, but sometimes I watch or listen to your videos using an app where you can play YouTube without, with the screen turned off to save the battery. So I often don't see the video, but I hear everything and listen to it with these really good headphones while I'm running around my house doing chores, or usually the majority lately I've been listening to them while I'm lying in bed. You know, just drifting. And that is it weird that I find them incredibly relaxing? But I think I've done it before these things even existed. I'd always fall asleep reading horror books back in the day, like Stephen King, or more particular, Dean Koontz. I'd read those scary ass books while listening to creepy music. I'm such a weirdo.
No.
That relaxed me.
No, that's what I do too.
I get told that all the time. That
really?
People relax, that it's therapeutic for them. And it always surprises me, but I love it because it makes me happy if I'm making someone else happy, and it makes me want to do it more.
Oh, yeah. It makes me very happy.
If no one told me that between YouTube and not ever, I don't think I'll ever probably make a dime from YouTube, which is fine. But if no one told me that they loved them, what would give me the inspiration to make them anymore? You know what I mean? I
I
like
love
it.
them.
I mean, I enjoy it. But if I was just making them to hear myself talk, I wouldn't get as much joy out of it.
You put a lot of effort in it, and I mean, a lot of these channels do, and I wish that they got more recognition upon your channel, and like the recording quality was top notch. I love the editing, and I admit that your intro for Serial Killer Saturday always gets me rolling. It's like ah, 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 with a little blood. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? It almost kind of sounds like a guy's like trying to do like okay, now make a like stock screaming, but he was like half-assing it. Ah! Ah! Ah!
Didn't you make that for
funny.
Rainbot's video?
What?
Duchess, didn't you make that intro for Rainbot's horror feature channel thing?
No, I
Oh.
mean channel trailer for that. That's my channel trailer now.
That's right.
I changed that for that, but
I loved it though. Sebastian, lover of scary. Sebastane. I'm wondering how are people mispronouncing his name in chat.
'cause I would say Sebastian, but
Yeah.
I'm supposed to say Sebastian.
Sebastane? Sebastane?
That's a lot of words.
You know, I was
It's
thinking
like the
about
name of
doing
the
a
ship in
horror
that
channel.
book we're doing, Duchess.
What's that?
Like that.
I'm sorry. Go
Which one?
ahead, hon.
Sebastian reminds me of a name of the ship in the book Duchess and I are doing.
You're doing a book?
Mm-hmm. It's
Cool.
Yep,
it's a long series. I don't want to.
very long.
You know how? Let me just say this. You know how when you're reading a book or listening to a narration, not actually watch. I mean, even if you watch my video, it's not the whole. It's not the entire everything in detail type of thing. It's just giving you a small pinch of an image for the audio. So when you're reading a book, you can, if you say they were in a mansion, every person, even if it's a little similar, will picture something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone takes an entire chapter and describes in every detail what that mansion looks like instead of proceeding the story forward,
Stephen King's guilty of that.
I feel like you steal something from the reader.
Dude, my sister and I would make fun of Anne Rice because there'd be a whole goddamn chapter about Claudia's dress or something. The ruffles were stitched from button to button with blah blah trim, and the lace was blah 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 blah. 16 pages later, and her pantyhose were blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, we get it. The dress is all fluffy. Can we please get on with the fucking story now? I hate when authors do that.
Yeah.
It's like 12 pages about a dress. I agree. A mansion. Yeah, let us figure out what the mansion looks like. Just describe how old it's made.
And then
Not only that, but you have to describe the neighbor's mansion too.
And the plant life and what color fence it has and whether they have a chimney or two chimneys.
You okay?
I'm laughing
I hate
because
that.
of how much you got that on the nail. But just, oh my god, the torture.
I mean, I was actually at Walmart today, and I just stumbled on the bookshelf, and because it is coming out in theaters, I'm gonna go see it. By the way, I've heard good things. I looked paperback copy. Holy shit! It's like 15 inches thick. That is the fattest book I've ever seen. You're like, Jesus Christ, how long would it take that? It's like 3 phone books, like stitched together.
Oh no.
And one big fat white book with like a silly grin on the front. It's all it'd be funny if it was a stupid balloon. Ooh, balloons are so scary. No, they're not.
You know what's also
Fucking
not
balloon.
scary? The original It movie.
Saying if any movie deserves a
haven't
remake,
seen it.
it's that.
It's
Because
not scary. It's funny.
the clown scared me at an early age. Like we're talking toddler. But I knew it was Tim Curry, and I fucking love Tim Curry. But I watch it again, growing up, and it's actually pretty damn funny. Especially the scenes with the
direction
clown.
with his drag in that movie.
What?
A lot of-
So Tim Curry just went a different direction of drag in that movie is all.
Did you know that's his real hair? The red real hair. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out. Ha ha! Ha ha! He wasn't even that scary. I love the Nostalgia Critic made such a great point. Like, the transitions were so of the drain in the shower, and he goes, ah, and it just fades to black, and you're like, so what happened after that? Did you just stare at that kid for 5 minutes and then go, oh, like, what happened?
Like the trailer for the new movie is scarier than the whole other movie.
Except I love YouTube. God bless the comments on YouTube. You know, like, you'll float too, you'll float too, you'll float too, and then the ghost goes, wow, kind of runs at you. Or I mean, the clown runs towards you all of a sudden. That made me laugh, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And people in the comments said, me when my phone's about to die, gotta plug it in. People come up with the stupidest shit on YouTube, and now I can't look at that scene the same way again because of that one comment I read. There are so many comments that people leave that just give me the best shits and giggles. Clowns never scared me, except for the clown in Brave Little Toaster. That goddamn fireman clown.
Oh my god, you're right. I didn't even think. Thanks for that.
Oh yeah, I see. I brought your childhood trauma back. Maybe you should do a childhood trauma thing, Duchess. Like things that scared you as a kid. I want to do one too, but I've been so pressed for time. I want to do a video game version of it.
I don't know if anyone wants to watch a 5-hour video of me talking about myself and then crying in between. So I don't know.
I would. I'd be getting my popcorn. I'd be so into that.
Oh my god, I don't think so. No. Everyone around me in a 50-mile radius would be depressed for about 6 months. So,
well, I'm not talking about childhood trauma. It's about like what movies scared you, or episodes of cartoon kid, or no, too much, too much for you.
Or what episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark freaked you out the most? Yeah,
nothing scared me.
None of them scared me either. There were some scenes from Goosebumps that kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Somebody just uploaded. Was it Blame It on George? I think uploaded a video about the top 10 episodes of Goosebumps recently. And I don't remember seeing any of those. So.
See It? I'm going to see It.
I'm not a movie person.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. I know.
Well, do you like to read or play video games or listen to music?
Well, of course I like to read. I mean...
You sound way more sophisticated than me.
Well, I mean, like, that's part of my job. And my day job is I'm in charge of the book department at my day job, too. So... I just
do you work, Duchess, outside of YouTube? You don't have to tell me where you work. I just wonder if there's...
No, not right now, no.
You're a narrator at Audible.
So, yes, but... yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm the only friggin' YouTuber that works full-time, and I only have weekends off. It sucks.
I used to be full-time.
Yeah, I could use the revenue. Yeah, I could use
absolutely
job. Yeah.
So where'd you come up with that logo for you? The lips and the smoke. I like it.
I don't know. I just didn't. That's just what came to mind when I.
It's original. They're both original. I love your icons.
Made you very memorable to me before we started talking. I knew who that was just by the picture. So.
It's so simple. It ingrains in your brain.
Yeah.
And I like recreating it.
What's that?
I liked recreating it too.
Yeah, she did that on Twitter. That was so cute. That must have taken a lot of green lipstick because it's hard to get green on your lips just to look green.
Without looking like you just smeared a bunch of spinach all over your mouth.
Or have it feel like like cement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I had to use my green color corrector, and then I dabbed sparkly bright green St. Patrick's Day eyeshadow on it. And I was like,
Oh,
okay, I gotta take a
cool.
picture really quick, send it to Duchess, and take this shit off.
Don't lick your lips, whatever you do.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I can't think of a clever name. You guys have clever names, but it's like, what the hell kind of a clever name could I use for a horror channel? I actually already did like a avatar generator for like a creepy doll kind of thing, but can't think of anything because nothing that wouldn't sound very cliched or extremely unoriginal.
Well, you'll think of something.
Yeah. You can keep the one that you have. You can just do it right on your channel that you already have.
True. I suppose I could, but sun buns doesn't sound menacing by any means. It sounds ridiculous. Like, this is a creepy reading from sun buns. It just doesn't sound right. It sounds too cutesy.
They'll never see it coming. That's why it's even better.
You'll trick them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did before I even met you 2 years ago. I told people that because I was really into horror channels then as well, that I wanted to do the same thing because I love that. That wouldn't take that much work. I would have to find things and find creepy music or around and just find stock footage of something, you know, like what you did, like smoke something, and just record. That wouldn't be hard at all. And if people enjoyed it, they'd probably watch the hell out of it, but we'd have to. I might play around with that in a month or two. Might make a separate channel for it though, and I wouldn't. Oh, someone's kitty's in the room.
Oh, you can hear her? I'm sorry.
I hear your kitty cat. Aw.
Can you get a watermark?
You can barely hear her.
Okay.
I just hear a little.
Well, she gets loud. Because now Mark is walking up to her and she's just like, give me water.
Oh, you have pets, don't you, Duchess? You have a doggy?
I have 2 cats, 2 dogs.
Aw. It's a lot of babies. A lot of furry babies.
And there's 3 kids, but those aren't pets.
Yeah,
those are
we're about
pets.
to get another cat. And we have a turtle, and I have a 7-year-old, so that's my house.
Oh, wow. It's a zoo. Did you want to redirect the topic? Because once again, I hijacked the topics and made us go way off.
I was worried I was going to do that.
I knew that you invite me, woman, you're going to regret it. We're going to be all over the place because of my ADD tendencies.
I'm very much like that. But I want the conversation to take its own natural.
Whoa. What did I do to my mic? Oh, sorry. That's too loud. Yikes. Sorry. I think I hit the switch. Oh, Jesus. I don't know how to use this damn thing. I turned the grain up by accident because I was just trying to, let me mute this for a second. I'm just trying to, this is so pitiful, guys. I have my Blue Yeti mic kind of in my lap up against a blanket just to keep this bullshit echoey ass office sound effects to be a little less echoey. I also have the AC turned off so that we don't hear because the AC is like right behind me in my office.
My Wi-Fi doesn't reach where I have my studio set up, so I'm just talking through the laptop mic in the living room.
Oh, it doesn't sound
Creepy
like
blonde girl's correct. A lot of us are very shy and awkward in real life. I'm kind of an omnivert. I could be the life of the party in real life. It just depends on the company.
Depends on what you drink.
Yeah. Depends on the drink.
Yes, if I have a White Russian or two, sure.
I love White Russians.
Is it just me, or like if I'm in a room of people who already know me or think they know me, you know what I'm talking about. I can't just feel like I can just be social. But if I'm in a room of strangers and I have a drink, I don't care.
Because anything goes.
Right. Like if I'm in public, I'm pretty quiet unless, like, I don't know if you're a magnet for this too, because I'm gonna assume that you are, and I'm not trying to do the whole assume thing here, but I'm a magnet for people that complete strangers tell me their problems.
Oh my
Oh
God, I
God,
know.
yes. I would sit on a bus stop and be like, "Hello, nice weather we're having. Oh, I was raped when I was 5 years old, and I'm from this school and from that school, and my brother's in prison and blah blah blah." Literally, true story. This lady was telling me her life story within 2 seconds, and I'm looking at her like, "Oh, wow, yeah, that sucks." And I'm thinking to myself, "What's going on here? People are too open too quickly. You don't even know me, woman. Why are you telling me this shit? Ah, get away!"
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just some people can pick up on people that are open and understanding people, and they just tell them everything. And
Well, you seem kind and warm. Maybe you should put on like practice a resting bitch face so that people will be less inclined.
I have perfected one actually.
Ooh,
But oh yes, I have. But when it's something about it, it turns itself off when I feel like there's someone around me that needs to be protected.
Heard.
Someone who's like an underdog. I feel like I instantly feel like I need to be open for them, and I don't know how to balance that out the right way to where I don't have to feel like I need
pressure.
to, right.
I'm looking at Sebastian, lover of scary. Chaplat. What the hell is that? He typed something.
Being in costume is totally different. I think that's why a lot of people like dressing up for Halloween.
I like it. I get to do it from September to October.
Halloween, I like it better than Christmas. But there's like no trick-or-treaters where I live. They never come. My husband and I got so cuted up. He had the most badass Jason Voorhees costume, and I had this really cute female Jason Voorhees costume this year, or last year. And it was badass, and there was no one around. It was like, shit. There's nowhere to go if you're an adult for Halloween to dress up.
You can go to a thrift store.
Yeah,
They
have
have
Halloween
Halloween
party.
there.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Only there's a few bars, maybe one club. We went to a club on Halloween, and I was dressed cool. I was dressed like a female Freddy, but not a slutty version, just a kind of cool casual one. And my husband was Michael Myers, and we looked really cool. But everybody else there, like every girl costume was slutty Disney princess. Every single one of them. I'm not kidding. Slutty Snow White, slutty Cinderella, slutty Belle, slutty Red Riding Hood, slutty everything. And all the guys were dressed up like just really boring half-assed costumes, you know? And we're there, we felt like such fish out of water. We looked cool, and they're playing that, you know, loud-ass dance music that just, it wasn't his cup of tea. I like dance music, but it wasn't that good either. It was just kind of like lame pop music, but we sat there for like 10 minutes. And we're like, let's get the fuck out of here. All right. But other than that, there's nowhere to go. They have these cool like zombie walks and stuff like that, or those haunted house spectacles or whatever. But you are not allowed to wear costumes when you go to those. So what's the fucking point? That sucks. You can't like dress up to go to these things called, I forget what they're called, but you know, like they have like a haunted house thing with actors that jump out and scare you. Mm-hmm. But you're not allowed to wear costumes.
Oh.
Lame. And they cost like $60 a ticket. They're expensive. I've never been to one because we never have enough money. We spend it all on candy that we end up not being able to give to the kids because none of the kids have been coming here lately. Some years they did. But yeah. Then we give it to a friend and they gain like 10 pounds because of us. Like, here's all the damn candy. Nobody wanted it.
Well, it's on sale after Halloween.
Exactly. And we get all the Halloween candy after Halloween.
But I wanted to have my own Halloween party so that we could just dress up here.
I know. We did have one of those. That was fun. Just once.
My birthday is October 29th, so that's pretty much my birthday party is a Halloween party.
Ooh,
sweet.
Fun. My birthday's on Groundhog Day. You'll never forget it because of that. I love that movie, by the way, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, so do I.
I haven't seen it.
Really? It's a good one. It's funny.
I only recently saw Harry Potter.
Which one? There's like 12 of them.
All of them. I watched all of them. But
I've only gotten as far as Half-Blood Prince or something, part 1. Which one's that? Like 6? How many are there? Are they done? Is Harry Potter done, or are they still making them?
Aren't they in America now?
It phased into a different series, but it's
Spinoffs, yeah.
Yeah, it's still a version of it. So
Fantastic
Too
Beasts.
many sagas. You've got Twilight, you've got Harry Potter, you've got Star Wars, Star Trek, all that shit. I get them all confused sometimes. Enter titles, I mean, not the movies itself. It's always some bullshit thing like Resurrection, Reloaded.
not to go completely off topic because we already are, but yesterday I almost bought a Star Wars shower curtain and the little trash can and the towel and all the stuff because it was all together in at Target, and I like still wish I would have gotten it now. It was an R2D.
Wait till it's on clearance.
It'll be gone. There's only 2 of them left.
Oh,
I would have bought it in a heartbeat.
In their houses now. It's like, who else has these in their house? I want to go there.
Cute. Husband he worships Star Wars. I always liked Star Wars, but I was that big of a fan until I saw Rogue One. That actually made me a bigger Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
Because it made me give a shit about the rebels, like actually seeing what they went through and then bringing Vader back. It was incredible, and it was so gritty, and it was good. I really liked it.
Yeah. There's another one.
Excuse me.
I'm getting the timeline mixed up, though. But you know what messed me up most about Rogue One?
Mm-hmm.
The very end. And they had the computer image of Carrie Fisher. And I just lost it.
I did too.
She had just passed away when I saw it. I had already been in the theaters for a little bit when I went. And she had just died. And I watched that like a couple of days after she died. And I know I didn't know her on a personal level. But
you cried because you were so sad that she's not with us anymore.
It was so like, it had such a deeper meaning because she just died. And then she said, what'd she say? Hope. And it was her as a young person. And she had just passed away. So it was just like so crazy.
That had to be very hard because I saw it before she died and I was stoked because I'm like, oh my God, it's Carrie Fisher. Whoa. Like, they literally brought that actor back from the dead. The guy who played, what's his name? Peter Cushing. I can't remember the character's name. But if my husband hadn't pointed it out, I would have at first not had a clue that wasn't really him. I would have thought that was real. Then he stepped into the light, and then I could tell just a little tiny bit of the uncanny valley factor. Same with the Carrie. She looked real, but then she looks up, and just some kind of something to where you can tell it's not real. And it makes you go, ugh, inside your head. That's what I love about the Uncanny Valley thing. It'll just, you're like, oh, that looks so real. Ugh. Like, you always get that kind of a little reaction.
I think
there's something off here.
Looked more real than the other guy did.
I think the other guy looked more real. She looked a little very real until a certain little point. Like, maybe it's right after she says hope and she smiles. Maybe it's the smile.
I think it's the teeth.
Yeah, maybe it's very hard to get mouths, teeth, and eyes because they always end up looking kind of like a robot. Because his face was so old and wrinkly, I think that's why it was a little bit easier to get. I don't realize how rude that sounded. I'm sorry. He's so fucking old. The actor who played him nailed it. He sounded just like him.
Well, I think that they can do some voice technology and match, alter someone's voice, so any actor similar could sound exactly like him, and they can say anything, but they can alter it to his voice.
What's the chat talking about right now? Shit, they're like all into their own conversation here.
We're talking about Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and Nasty
Oh, jeez. Oh, there's
Good
another.
books.
Yeah, there's another trilogy for you. Lord of the Rings. I actually really enjoyed the Hobbit movies. A lot of people didn't. I thought they were cool.
Some of them are.
I saw those. Something I saw.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes.
I admit though, every scene with the dwarfs, I didn't think. I mean, they looked like dwarfs, their faces, but their bodies were too proportionate. They all look like tall people pretending to be dwarfs. They couldn't quite nail it as well as they. It's hard to do that. I understand.
Yeah.
Short arms and short legs, but they would make their hands and feet larger to kind of, and they did a really good job. But you know what I mean? Like when you look at full proportionate tall actors pretending to be shorter people, they just can't quite get it. But when you actually hire little people, like in Willow, it's a lot more convincing because obviously it's real, it's hard to do. With my husband read Dark Tower. I've only read a couple Stephen King books that, come to think of it. I kind of switched over to Dean Koontz. I like his style a little better because he doesn't quite do what Stephen King does, where he devotes like 6 chapters to a window, describing a window. You know what I mean? Or inner monologues about how this guy gets up, takes a shit, and has coffee and reads the newspaper before going to work for 14 pages.
I think Dean Koontz is the author that I get asked about the most at work if I have a lot of his stuff in. Dean Koontz and Danielle Steele are the 2 biggest authors.
Really?
That I
Have
get.
you guys read any Dean Koontz?
Of course.
What's your I got a favorite, but I want to know what your favorite is. Do you have what's your favorite Koontz book?
Let me go check my bookshelf for the title. I'll be right back.
My favorite was Demon Seed.
Why? What is Demon Seed about?
Demon Seed is badass. My sister and I read it. I guess it was written twice. He wrote it back before computers were a thing, and then he wrote it again when computers and internet was more. He updated it. It's about a smart house. It's amazing that he wrote this before technology existed like this. Isn't it? Like he wrote it in the 70s, I guess. A smart house with an AI that has cameras all over. A very wealthy woman lives alone, and the computer falls madly in love with her. It's really disturbing, but it's really funny at the same time. And he decides that he wants to have a baby with her. So he locks her in the house and some way to control Frankenstein kind of guy who had a lobotomy or something to forcefully impregnate her. Yeah, that sounds incredibly fucked up. But the whole book is like an interrogation scene of the computer telling the story of what he did, and that he loved her very, very much and just wanted to have a baby with her. You almost feel bad for him, but he's just so malicious, and she's just so badass, and she talks so much shit to the computer. The computer talks shit back and does fucked up stuff, but it was just I couldn't put it down. We were taking turns. She would read it, then I would read it, then she would read it. And there were times where he would say something in such a way, and then we'd reread it and laugh. The book made us laugh out loud. How much of an asshole the AI was. I can't even remember his name. It was a good one. That was a fun book to read. I recommend it. Demon Seed. It has a movie from the 70s, but it's nothing like the movie. Was kind of stupid, honestly. That's a movie that I'd love to see be remade.
Anybody have any questions before this is gonna end at midnight?
Oh shit, is that how long we're gonna be on here? Oh crap.
No, midnight my time. So we've got 16 more minutes.
Oh my goodness, It's not even 9 p.m. here. I was gonna be I'm not sure I can make it, Duchess.
No, I would never. No.
Bless you.
I would watch a 4-hour stream.
I've got people that have done 8-hour streams, dude. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how people stream on Twitch for half a fucking day. 2 hours is my limit. That's all I can do. I'm a motor mouth, but yeah, 2 hours is about all I've got.
If I live streamed or did vlogs, it would be the most boring vlogs, or you would all think I was completely insane because of how much I talk to myself during the day.
I think literally it depends, because you have charisma And I'm not blowing smoke up your butt or your green lips. But I'm telling you, I love listening to your voice. It is extremely soothing and calming. And you could read instructions of shampoo and it would probably relax me and I'd listen to it. So don't underestimate yourself.
I'm going to do a video where I just read ingredients and instructions.
Yeah. read like instructional a guide on how to like turn on the cable or read like read the back of a cereal box.
Washing instructions. Just grab your favorite shirt and read the washing instructions.
Read the Surgeon General warning on the box of cigarettes. Anything, and people are like, ah.
Or the fine print of a gift card or something.
See, you can do that too. She can do that too. Yeah. I'm looking at the back of this incense container that's on my desk.
I have a bottle of baby sunscreen. Hold on.
I've got a water bottle.
Do you ever get shy while doing videos? I'm thinking about doing podcast. You know what? The only thing that I will say is odd is when you record it and you hear yourself back. That takes a little getting used to, and it made me cringe hearing myself.
I got used to my weird voice after a couple recordings. Wow, this is so small, the print. But like there's like a purified by reverse osmosis, filtered and ozonated to ensure quality. This is what's on the water bottle. I'm doing kind of a DuchessDark impression here. Purified water with selected minerals. I can't do it. Calcium chloride, sodium bica, blah 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 blah. I can't pronounce this word. For taste. Mineral. What the fuck? That's all in. What? This is what I'm drinking? I just want water.
Then drink water. Yeah, just water.
I thought that's what I was fucking drinking. It's got minerals and shit. Ew.
Yeah.
Spit it out.
Ingredients.
I thought it was just. And I never actually read the fine print. I've been poisoning myself all along. Sparklets. Crystal fresh, purified water. Minerals added for taste. Oh shit, I didn't know that. Oh well. Well, it's too late. I've been poisoned
now.
I like Reaper's horror idea. Maybe I could do like sunbuns with a little witch hat. Or do like a creepy doll-like version. And call it like the Wicked Buns or something.
That's funny. Wicked Buns.
Witchy Buns.
Can you do a Boston accent? Because that would be hilarious. For Wicked Buns.
Boston? Wicked Buns. I gotta get a cup of coffee. Let's go on a
Anytime somebody says wicked something, I think of Boston.
Really? I say wicked all the time, but
that's Wicked Buns.
I'm kidding for clumps. Wait, that's Jewish. Never mind.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
It was like butter. I'm kidding for
I say
clumps.
that all the time. It's like butter. I say that all the time. And very few people understand what I'm saying when I say it.
I've got hoipies. Have a cup of coffee and let's talk it over. I don't know is the difference between Boston and New York accents. I kind of fuck it up.
One's just got more like the R's or the W's.
The I's and the W's. I like that.
New York is more like that.
New York.
But New York.
New York.
Like, blah. That's Boston.
Blah. Blah. I love it. Sure. Well, the one that I can do is the English accent, and I can do I could do Asian and Indian. I mean, like from India, but it might appear politically incorrect.
The only one I cannot do, and I attempted it for an audiobook edition, and I didn't even end up sending it. It's an Eastern European one, and I think MotherCreepyPasta can do it, but I cannot do it. I tried several different times, and it just sounded like I was doing a
Yeah.
horrible Count Chocula impression, and I just never
Mine was
sent
pretty
it.
bad though. Like I recorded it a few different times. It's an audiobook. It's in an audiobook if you want to go hear it, but I have to do a gruff male Slavic accent while
Ooh, can you
he's
show
having
me?
his way with somebody.
Show us your Eastern European accent.
Give me a phrase to say and I'll think about how it's going to be said. I only had to do it for like 5 lines.
Say,
Beautiful.
God save the Queen. Hooray for the Queen of England.
I can't.
Not on the spot.
I'm so bad with accents.
Serial
Good at it. I have to say it over and over again
I
before
can think of
find
quotes
one
from
I can
like
do.
Pygmalion. It's a very English movie. Maybe what's taking Freddy so long? I shall get pneumonia if I stay in this draft any longer. You say it like that. And he goes, "Oh, it's cold." Okay. What could be? Wait. What could be taking Freddy so long? I shall get pneumonia if I stay in this draft any longer.
Is that English?
English. And he goes, Earl's Court. Would you please keep your impertinent remarks to yourself? Did I say that out loud? I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
I have to do a Liverpool accent for a book soon, and I'm not happy with that either.
What is it?
Like the Beatles accent.
Beatles.
Oh, London?
They're from Liverpool, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit strong, isn't
6
it?
different accents,
Yeah.
and they sound kind of.
I
I've
just
tried to
discovered-
record it a few times. I'm like, I have to practice this more.
I thought Liverpool
Big
was the
accent.
same as Cockney. It's not. My friend from England corrected me in my last podcast because he's from England, and he told me, no, they're like in totally different parts of England. I'm like, oh, I just told you how geographically, culturally illiterate I am.
Before, not to interrupt anybody, but because we're wrapping it up soon, and I know we got off topic, but that's fine when you're talking to people. You like to make the conversation go wherever it's going to lead you. And I'm glad you caught us live too. I'm so glad you came. Anybody that came here, I'm not trying to interrupt anybody because we only have like 8 more minutes. The reason we had this discussion tonight is so that all you listeners and readers of horror, lovers of horror, watch out for yourselves.
Be careful out there.
Know your surroundings. Obviously, you can't stay in your house 24 hours a day. You can't be afraid of everything. Just be cautious. Be educated about your surroundings. Try to get to know your neighbors. Don't be nosy. Don't go looking in their windows. But be aware of if you have predators in your neighborhood. Just be aware of your surroundings. When it's late at night and you're having to walk to your car by yourself, check yourself. Is your phone charged? I'm only saying this because I don't think that it's a victim's fault. But I don't want anyone else to become a victim because someone got released because they killed someone a long time ago. And that's how this discussion got started, which so now we've made full circle. Just because there's so many out there lurking, and I feel like there's more that we obviously don't know about. If I had to go searching for this, and I mean, even, Sunbuns and I were talking about William Huff being released, and people in the neighborhood didn't even know. And so just be careful. And does anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? In the chat there. No?
That was a great conclusion. And if you guys, when she says, protect yourself, there's really bright flashlights, like extremely bright. The light itself can be a defense weapon, and there's lights that have tasers on them, and chemical mace and little tiny discreet keychain sized mace. Like just if you live in a neighborhood or any city like me or Duchess, where there tends to be weirdos and drug addicts around, it's never too late to get protective measures just in case. And I don't personally ever travel at night alone. It's better to travel in groups. And I know it's silly, but if you think someone's following you, do either 3 right or 3 left hand turns, because that means they walked in a circle while following you. That's another good tip.
Yep, pepper spray too. Yes, of
Pepper
course.
sprays.
But also remember, if someone you know is a victim of a violent crime, it is not their fault. And I don't care if they were walking around their neighborhood at 3 a.m. The victim is never at fault.
Agreed.
Never.
Never.
There's never an excuse for it. It's never excusable. People should be allowed to leave their home whenever they want to. They should be able to go.
And never
wherever they want
blamed.
to.
Yeah. Because society needs to be more
right. People still
humane.
do though, and it's just so it's wrong on more levels than we even have time to discuss. But
Can I shoot some advice to the chat too?
yes, please.
Hell
yes.
yeah, go for it.
I was told a long time ago that if somebody comes up to you to mug you, they want your purse or they want your wallet. So that if they really did want just money from you, they will go get it. Intention is probably to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Of a distraction for you to be able to get away, hopefully.
I think a smartphone is a fair trade if I can run away with my life. Take the fucking phone. I'm out of here. Pew!
That was my advice. Like, whatever they're asking for, throw it, so they're at least distracted if that wasn't their intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I agree. Pepper spray isn't, someone said it's not, what is it? Where did someone say pepper spray wasn't? It's not effective. No, but you could, don't just have pepper spray. There's tons of advice
Body
on
alarms too.
putting your
Loud body
keys
alarms.
between your fingers so that you make a fist so that they're sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to defend yourself is a great tool also.
Get a gaudy ring just to have something to punch them.
Learn how to punch. Learn
How to keep your distance. There's also ways to call for help on the phone very discreetly. Even just there's ways to say, like, calling 911 without actually having to dial it. If you turn on Siri, there's like certain codes and numbers you can say. If you're in a group and you don't want them to know that you're calling for help, there's ways to do that. There's all kinds of things, precautions you can take, but don't be afraid. Just remember that as long as you know, just like she said, as long as you know how to defend yourself, and if you have the initiative, then you have the upper hand, and you'll be okay. But just be sure to protect yourself, protect whoever's with you, and I think the number one thing is to always be calm in a stressful or scary situation. Just remain calm and try to work it out before anything gets ugly.
Well, like she's saying, when the people aren't here and they're not thinking straight and they're not going to feel pain, and that's correct. Sometimes people are in situations where they are panicking, and you have to do what your gut tells you to do.
Fight or flight, yeah.
Right, and I wish I could tell you something that would guarantee your safety, but I don't want someone to get hurt because of something I said or didn't say correctly. Each situation is different. Each person is different, and how they react to everything is different. So,
you said that mace might not be as effective. There's mace that's colored, like it's dyed, like yellow. If some, God forbid, somebody came up to me and tried to attack me, and I sprayed their face, there's going to be some idiot, stumbling around with a yellow face. He'll be easy to spot when the cops come. So sometimes it can be effective. And it doesn't just come out when they wash it off. It stains their face for quite a while. So, just keep that in mind. It just depends on the brand and stuff. But there are ways,
Oh, Vidith is coming at the last second here. We're wrapping up.
I had so much fun.
I did.
Thank you, Duchess. Thank you, MotherCreepyPasta. I will be sure to check you out. I love your channels. And I thank you, chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all this wonderful conversations we had.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
having
you
me.
so much, you guys, for coming by and making my Saturday night pretty eventful, actually.
Me too.
It was a good conversation. I was looking forward to it.
Me too.
It was a nice mix of serious and then got a little goofy. And it was nice just to laugh with people for...
That's what I try to do. I love making people laugh.
Yeah, my next one will be it'll be on Paranormal, if anybody wants to come to be 2 weeks from this week. Not sure who else will want to be on, but I know that Mason will be on with me, so I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't had the chance to really talk to Mason a lot, but I think it's going to be really interesting and really different. It'll be really different. I haven't been part of a paranormal one before, so I'm going to wrap it up before we get cut off because it's supposed to end at 12, and I don't know if it'll just turn itself off.
I think you have to do it yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for my guests that were on with me. That was great. I'm glad I wasn't just talking to everyone by myself because it's a nerve-wracking subject in itself.
I had fun.
And me too. I'm gonna say good night and thanks everybody for coming. Bye.
Good night.
Here's a kiss for all of you. Mwah! Blow you a kiss.
Good night. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.